Okay, so for this deep dive, we're opening up the book of Joshua, specifically chapter 18, verses 1 through 10.
And it's this really pivotal moment at a place called Shiloh.
Right. It reveals this fascinating tension. You have this, guaranteed divine promise on one side.
But on the other, you see the human effort that's actually required to go out and claim it.
Exactly. And that's our mission here, to figure out why, when the war was largely won and the land was subdued, why were 7 tribes still dragging their feet?
We're looking at that inertia. We're asking what this historical delay can tell you about the nature of faith and action.
So let's set the scene. The entire congregation of Israel, they've all gathered at Shiloh, a really critical location.
And they set up the tent of meeting there. The sources are pretty clear that the major fighting, the big battles were over.
The land was subdued. Victory was achieved. And yet
there they were, 7 tribes still without their inheritance fully apportioned.
Judah was secure down in the south, and the house of Joseph had their area up north.
Right, and we can't forget Gad, Reuben, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. They were already settled east of the Jordan.
And of course the Levites, who had their own unique status.
No land for them, because the priesthood of the Lord, that was their inheritance.
But for those other 7, something had just stalled. And this is where Joshua steps in and asks this, it's the defining question of the whole chapter.
He says, "How long will you put off going in to take possession of the land which the Lord, the God of your fathers, has given you?"
But that question just cuts right through everything, doesn't it?
It does. It implies the delay was their problem to fix. So to break that stalemate, Joshua immediately lays out an action plan.
And it's a simple one. He demands they provide 3 men from each tribe.
3 men, not an army, a small critical survey team.
And their mission. They had to go up and down the land, write a detailed description of it, town by town, and divide it into 7 portions.
Now, and this is the crucial part, this required immense participation. They had to go out into areas that were not perfectly secure.
It took real courage just to survey that ground.
Absolutely. The plan involved risk. It involved human labor. But once that survey was done, the final division wouldn't just be arbitrary.
No, it would be decided by casting lots before the Lord.
Which was a recognized way back then of determining the divine will. It's this perfect blend of human effort.
The survey.
Followed by the divine confirmation, the casting of the lots.
This whole thing it completely challenges a very common idea about faith, If the land was promised, why not just wait?
Why not just wait for Joshua to finish the job? Isn't faith just waiting for God to do everything?
Right.
And that passive view is the core misunderstanding this passage corrects. If faith was only about waiting, they should have just stayed east of the Jordan.
Stayed safe until the land was perfectly cleared out, every enemy gone, every boundary line painted for them.
Like waiting for a hotel room to be perfectly prepared before you even step inside.
That analogy really sticks. You don't get to the promised land and just say, well, I'll wait for the bellhop to bring me the key to my inheritance.
You don't. The promise was delivered, but they had to walk over, survey the property, and essentially, sign the deed. The promise required them to move.
To map it out, to act on it.
That's the reality check here. The big battles were won, but the detailed work, the administrative stuff, the courage to claim specific ground, that was on them.
So the passage shows that God calls for our response, our obedience, our participation.
That's what moves a promise from just potential into actual physical possession.
So this deep dive really shows us that faith requires us to step out, even when the job isn't perfectly finished. You have to survey the field and move forward.
You do. Divine promise necessitates human obedience. And we hope this encourages you to move past any inertia in your own life.
We want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
What specific step of obedience is God asking you to take today to claim what has already been promised to you?